Hello and welcome to the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT series live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Daniel Leet. Scott Newton operating the cameras tonight, and we're here at Road America for one of the final rounds of this season 14 of the championship. This is a proper slipstream circuit, Daniel. It's one of my favourites. You can pretty much guarantee some good racing, and hopefully we'll see a race to the line as well, because that long stretch up the hill to get to the checker flag is always a point of controversy.
Absolutely. Good evening, Sam, and all the viewers. Great to be back for another round of the series. And yeah, we've seen some fantastic racing here in the past from the AMF team, and I think no reason to think we're not going to have that again tonight. And as you touched on, some very long straights for some huge slipstream opportunities. You can see some big moves down in turn 1, turn 5, and then potentially down through the kink, which we always have seen some big issues. So hopefully don't have that tonight, but there is a pretty good chance that we could likely see some big incidents.
One of the biggest fields that I can recall seeing for this race. We've just got the one split. Often we have so many drivers that we have to do 2 splits, but we're just below that threshold tonight. So we're going to have approximately 50 drivers out here tonight battling against one another. So we're not going to be short in action on Apex Racing TV. The drivers are currently in their practice session. They've got 1 more minute of practice of this 10-minute practice. They've already done qualifying, and then we'll jump into a 45-minute race. So far this season, Daniel, it's been Ross Rizzo who has taken the majority of the race wins. He also won last time out at Monza, albeit he felt rather fortunate about it. He got a drive-through penalty at one point. I was quite fortunate with a safety car to bring him back into play, albeit after that he did drive very well. So far this season, it's kind of been a story of different challengers, I'd say, kind of battling Rizzo. I think this circuit is a bit more of a lottery than maybe the others that we visited, because of the slipstream effect. I wonder if this might be one of the other drivers' best chances at taking a race win this season.
Definitely. I think if anyone can hang in there and utilise the draft, everyone's up for a good opportunity to make those passes. Rizzo has been, he's had some huge challenges throughout the course of the season so far. Danny Davison, Nathan Huppert's, all those guys, we saw them last season holding their own against Rizzo, and they're still doing it now and continuing to press further forward. So it's not going to be an easy night for him out here tonight, but if he can utilise the pace of the Ford, the fuel economy in that car, I mean, he doesn't have to lead every lap. He can just sit in behind, let these guys run their own race. He's in with a really good shot, though, at the end, if he can keep it clean and smooth.
Absolutely. Well, we've seen Danny Davison have some brilliant races so far this season, and he's looking to do it again tonight, because he is on pole position for this round of the championship with a very good qualifying time. Second place is Ross Rizzo, then it's Ben Dow, Adam Hughes, Nathan Hupperts, Paul Warwick, James Glasspool, Adrian Vlock, Scott Forsyth, and Jesse Butler. 11th place, it's Shane Chancellor. Chris Whitesall lines up in 12th. It is Michael Whiting, Rob Bowden, Aaron Cooper, Byron Phillips, Trent Thomas. Good to see Trent back out there. I feel like he missed some rounds, but I'm not 100% sure. Ashley Collins lines up in 18th. Then it is Joe Chigavasia, Aidan Coote in 20th place. Very good qualifying for Coote, actually, there. Then it is Chris Taylor, Rob Harris, Daniel Yeaman, Michael Pizzari, Jacob Meyer, Luke Swan, Lucas Micallef, and Todd George in 27th. Then it's Joshua Burden, very much out of position. Watch out for Burden down there. And then it's Craig Mason, Lee Cogan, and Chris Barnes. Behind that, it is Simeon Perigo, Lockhart Brownlee, Dustin Fletcher, Cam Walker, Nathan So, Matt Bailey, Brenton Hawkins, Brenton Jewell, Lachlan Crowe, Justin Quinn, James Thomas, Pete Minnett, Andrew Pitkin, Shane Griffin, Michael Schroeder, Braden O'Logan, Joel Proctor, Brad Adlam, Ryan Lee, Neil Yates, Dylan Whitworth, Tristan Kosh, Richie Domingo, and Joshua Woolley, rounding out the 55 cars. And considering that we've got 4 admins as well, means that we are right at the limit. We could have easily had two 25-car fields, but instead we have just got this entire field. It's quite rare for the organisers to do this, Daniel. I mean, usually even if we do get, more than 50, usually it is two splits. So this is going to be awesome to see. I mean, for a 45-minute sprint race in particular, we're going to do a good job at keeping up with half the action out there.
Absolutely. I mean, given the size of the Road America circuit, it makes sense to combine everyone in. Yeah, it will make it a little bit tough in that midfield area, but these guys have raced alongside each other for quite a few seasons now, so shouldn't be any dramas as far as that concerned. We do know that in these the shorter sprint format, it's going to be challenging to go up and down throughout the field to keep an eye on it, and we're going to see that tonight. But definitely no reason why the racing will be any less exciting than what it traditionally is around here, as the guys are going to take the opportunity to go around for a full pace lap, which is something very rare these days within iRacing. You don't get to do that very often anymore, but yeah, it's going to be a fantastic start. I can't wait to see how Davison and Rizzo, though, get off the line here.
Yeah, it's the longest pace lap we have in all of iRacing. I think for the North American circuits, because of the IMSA, they tend to do the full formation lap. Of it, there was a functionality. I think Watkins Glen can now do the full formation lap or a short one of it. I don't think that's been rolled out on all the circuits yet. So these drivers get a little bit extra practice on this layout. Then we got the kink, and I mean, I think the kink might be quite a trouble spot for these drivers, because in these GTE cars, Daniel, it's just about flat out. But when you're following another driver and you're going into that corner with a little bit more speed, with a little bit of wake as well, it's so easy to understand. Once you do that, then it's easy to end up in the wall. So hopefully we don't see anything like that up front. Otherwise, that could be a pile up down into Canada corner.
And we have seen that a few seasons ago, where that sort of same incident unfolded and it took out 2/3 of the field as a result of it. So you got to keep your eyes forward. Don't look at anyone behind you and just hit those marks where you can, because you've got next to no runoff room. And if you find the way into the grass, it's all over Red Rover. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't see it.
Yeah, and Danny Davison will be hoping to see that checkered flag first of anyone, because he's got another pole position. Can he convert it into a race win? The championship leader, the defending champion, Ross Rizzo, starts alongside him. The Porsche pace car will pull into the pits. The field is under the control of Danny Davison now. 45 minutes of action here at Road America is underway. Davison puts his foot down. It wasn't a very strong launch. Dow looks very strong in third position. Rizzo will do well to hang on into second, as the Ferrari might just be able to pull ahead. Will he get boxed in, though, on the run down to turn one? In bad thing, he's looking for the lead here as Ben Dow. Davison really opened up the door, but Dow wasn't able to quite make it through. Further down, we got a bit of locking up very tight down the order, but it's still Davison leading the way. Dow did make that move eventually. We've got a couple of cars off away at the back of the order. Chris Barnes and Craig Mason, Brenton Jewell and Andrew Pitcairn all getting a very poor start as they make the run down to turn 3 for the first time. Dow once again going for the attack, almost tipping a wheel onto the gravel. He goes the long way round, has to turn out of the corner. They wasn't sure where the Porsche was, and that enables the Ford of Rizzo to move back up into second place. So aggressive driving there from Dow. It's left him where he started there.
Yeah, and just having a quick look at that incident that happened earlier on, I think it was one of the CMR Esports cars involved in that, one of the Fords, as we see another Ford in the background go off. That's Glasspool having a big incident in the wall, and he's going to stay out of harm's way, so everyone else should be able to filter through. But they're already starting to drop like flies. But the guys out the front doing a very good job. Ben Dow continuing that strong form in the Ferrari, not letting sight of Rizzo. Nathan Huppets has closed right in on the back and looking to extend his one position that he's already gained so far and continue working his way up towards the pointy end.
Oh, into the wall is the Fisher Motorsports car, and it off, and we could see a pile up here. This is what we were fearing before the race, and that is quite a few cars. Are they? No, they're still bashing in, and surely we're going to have to see a safety car here. That was, one of the Fisher Motorsports cars, and there, still a few more cars flying up. And it just took one car near the front to kick it all off. Not sure if we have got a safety car yet, but the field in the top 10 really is quite spread out after that. We might be staying green here as Phillips peels off into the pits. Maybe he's anticipating a safety car, as I think we are slowing down now. So Davison still in the lead, and this is great news for the drivers further down the order, is it not, Dan? Because, well, as long as you got through it, get your pit stop done now, the leaders are going to have to stay out, and even if they pit on this lap, they may still be, they may have to come out behind the others. So this could really turn this race on the head just at the point of which the safety car was deployed.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We've got to have a lot of guys filtering their way through involved in that wreck early on. So, yeah, they'll get that kick through. I think for everyone being, we're only lap 1. You're not going to be able to get these cars home without coming in a little bit later on. So for these guys at the moment, continuing on as normal strategy is probably still the best way forward. Yes, it might hurt them a little later on, but they've got the outright pace to continue pressing forward.
That's a good point, as we are going to see how Glasspool went off the circuit. In the end, I think he would have been in the firing line of it, chaos theory, so it probably wouldn't have happened anyway. But he was just came across the corpses out of the kink. It was late, and he runs wide there. There's a big bump on the outside of this one. In fact, he didn't even reach the bump. He was just on the grass, and well, at least he hit the tyre pads that absorbed some of the energy, didn't bounce back onto circuit. And then we might be able to carry this on, because it was Michael Whiting in the Fishy Motorsports car who got involved in this. And just to run down the drivers who got involved: Barnes, Minette, Hawkins, Burden, Griffith, Glasspool, he had his own separate instance, to be fair, but then Warwick, Jewell, Kogan, Pitkin, Quinn and Proctor were at least the drivers who were involved in first lap wrecks. Also, it was ahead of Whiting, apologies. It was his teammates, one of his Fishy Motorsports drivers' teammates, but that was a good view of what it was like for those drivers. And then, well, thankfully, this isn't real life.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not going to do any more damage than just a bit of hurt pride as a result of that, but we should be able to get back through early on. We kind of called it. I mean, you kind of called it already, Sam, that we were going to have that big incident in the kink there, and it was one of those spots we were already targeting. Potentially we could have those issues, and unfortunately, you've seen it again. Here's another look at it unfolding, and for Whiting, just ran out of the road, hits the wall, and poor old Adrian Vlock, nowhere to go, and just gets cleared up.
We might well have an interview with a driver who finishes on the podium who managed to get through that mess, potentially. Would be awesome to hear their thoughts on it, depending on if the field does change around at all. I think it's pretty much everyone from Cooper backwards who managed to get through that. Some massive changes as well so far in this race. I mean, James Thomas up 20 positions, the rookie. Lockhart Brownlee up into 14th from 34th on the grid. Daniel Yearman up 14 places. Trent Thomas up 10 places. And of course, Trent has been a former champion in this series back in Season 1 and Season 2 of Aussie Mixed Olympics, and also won at Moss Sports last season. Plenty of podiums as well in more recent times. So he could be dangerous. I'm sure we'll get another lap here. It has been a very slow pit lap here. They've been on this lap for about 4 minutes now. But the TCR car pulls into the pits, and we are going to go back to green flag racing, this time a single file restart. Davidson went pretty late last time. He wants to minimise the slipstream opportunity for Rizzo down into turn 1, so he's leaving it a while again and puts his foot down. A much better jump than he got last time this time, as Chancellor already getting past White. So we're back underway for racing then. All the drivers still needing to do one more pit stop, but with a very much a diminished field from the 55 cars we started off with. Chancellor then making that move on White, so that's a very good launch for him up into 5th position. And you can see how there's quite a bit of a divide. Not quite sure how that one happened, but I guess the drivers were trailing back into Bill Mitchell corner before they could launch, and yeah, that separated the field out already.
Yeah, it looks like everyone else, though, has picked up. That little gaggle of cars at the back end will work their way back through, and don't expect too much issue for them there. Lachlan Crowe making a bit of a move back up and just getting past Chris Taylor, who dropped quite a few positions early on. And Taylor already coming under big attack here. Rob Bowden, Jesse Butler getting involved in this one as well. And could be 3 wide down into turn 5. I don't think we're going to see it, but someone with a massive lockup early on. That's Byron Phillips there, who will run wide on the exit.
Phillips with a brilliant drive last time out to, that's Walker off the circuit. But yeah, Phillips was running in second place for much of Monza, was faster than Rizzo. Unfortunately, he was one of the drivers who was negatively affected by the safety car, which was deployed. But he certainly had the pace to win the race. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen tonight, as Davidson running wide and deja vu right there. We've got less cars to get involved in the wreck now, albeit, of course, 2 faster pairs for these drivers, so with the safety car, everyone should be able to get back going. That is a huge shame for Jacob, because he was one of the big beneficiaries of that first lap wreck. But he's lost all those benefits now, and he is just going down the order. Meanwhile, White's all back ahead of Chancellor. These two have been battling ever since the safety car came into the pit, and they got quite a queue of cars behind them. Trent Thomas, the next driver behind, and I imagine the Ford will be past these guys relatively quick, as long as Trent is feeling confident out there.
Definitely. The Ford's got a lot of good pace. You just see him already sticking the nose out on the run into one. He should... he's just going to have to hold station. The Ferrari is a very quick car, as we've seen so far throughout the season, and Shane Chancellor doing a good job there just to hold off that position. But for the guys behind, really starting to queue up early on, and we're only a lap down after that safety car resumption, and they're already playing for sheep stations. We see another pass a little further down the order. I think that's Lockhart Brownlee getting a move done on Aiden Coote.
So I got another safety car. Do we know? It looks. I mean, it looks like a safety car moment, albeit maybe there.
Well, we do have a stranded car down off the exit of the King. That was Jacob Maher, who went around in the Coda Sim Sports car. He hasn't been able to get off the circuit as yet, and I think that'll be the reason as to why we're going to have this. That does make interesting strategy positions, though, for these guys that came in as a result of that first incident, however.
Yes, I mean, could you get to the end of the race from here? I imagine you could. 5 minutes?
I would say you're in a pretty good position. I mean, we've seen guys primarily go to about the 25 to 30-minute range, so definitely no reason you couldn't do that at this point of the race. And given that we've had the safety cars here and the potential for them to be still more later on, potentially you're in a really good spot if you do get that stop cleared out of the way sooner rather than later.
Yeah, as soon as the pit window opens, the drivers will be in, and it'll be pretty tasty. It'll be a bit like a NASCAR pit stop when they all come in under caution. As Davison stayed out. What are you doing, Danny? I really don't understand that thinking at all from Danny Davison. Why on earth has he stayed out on circuit? Because surely you can get to the end of the race from this point, and they're all just going to trail behind him in a second. I mean, Fazzari will move up, but there's no way that Davison could build up a gap around this longest pit lane of the season. So we'll see what happens. Is Rizzo going to be able to get out of the pits first of all the drivers, though? That's going to be the big question. Can he stay ahead of Dal? Because Dal was right on his tail. We've already got one of the drivers. Rizzo's just going to have it. Poor pit stop for Dal, and Dal's going to drop to 4th in that line, and also one of the other drivers getting in amongst those guys. Chris White's still benefiting a little bit from that. I think he's up to 4th in that battle, and Huppert's right behind Rizzo. So Huppert's with a pretty quick pit stop. But so Rizzo's still the leader of the drivers who have pitted then, as apparently Mason's gone off the circuit under the safety car. It's all going on.
Yeah, it's interesting as we're still having the guys having a little bit of trouble getting these cars around at this stage of the race. Mason going well down the order. That's a weird one to see an incident as they were all approaching the back of the train there. So we'll have to check out what's unfolded for that one. I was still really interested to see this move of Davison to hang out the front. It's a very bold strategy call to sit there at this point, knowing that you've still got a fuel stop left to come down and complete. So it'd be interesting to see how this unfolds for the likes of Rizzo. Yes, it's put him further down with a little bit of lap traffic, and there is a bigger chance that he could have one of those incidents later on. But yeah, got to be in the right spot. Here's another look back at the Ma incident, and again down into the kink there, just running a little wide, misses the apex, and then gets it up into the grass, and around she goes.
Oh, how's that not another pileup? Because he spun back to the inside of the circuit, and a couple of cars came very close to hitting him right there. So yeah, properly close stuff. Apparently James Glasspool, I think, may have been black flag. I think he towed back to the pits, and I think once you've towed, you're out of the race. So Glasspool, not going to see any more of him, unfortunately, after that lap 1 incident. I mean, for Davison, I don't really understand, because he's an experienced driver as well as Dane Davison. He's been around for several seasons, and whenever someone tries this strategy, it never works. And I'm always one for the alternative strategy. You know, AOSC, 2 hours to go. Ah, don't stop again, guys. You know, risk it, mix it up slightly. But usually that strategy doesn't work for this series. But Davison, looking on the positive, he has got 16 cars between him and Rizzo. He's got 20 minutes, or 15 to 20 minutes, to build up as big a gap as he possibly can. And he would need about 30 seconds. It is a long pit lane round here. He'd need about 30 seconds in order to pit and come out in the lead. I don't think that is possible, but you never know. Davison will be right on it, and will be building up that gap from the get-go here. So for the 3rd time then, in today's meeting, we are going to have another restart. Fazzari in 2nd place, Perigo in 3rd. Already into the pits is Fletcher. That's good news for the drivers who just came into the pits. It's very sluggish getting underway for the drivers further down. Quite a big concertina effect as Davison pulls away from the rest of the order. And just as we saw in the last safety car, lots of divide between the drivers in these early stages. Byron Phillips trying to gain places. He's gone for the alternative strategy, I think, as well. But he already pits, so of course on lap 1 actually did Byron Phillips. He's up into 5th position at the moment. Crow, Taylor, Bozeman, Butler and Thomas rounding up the top 10.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good start for all the guys out front. Danny Davison doing exactly what he needs to do at the moment, just trying to build a gap, and he's going to have to get on with business pretty quickly. Further down the midfield, though, as we have a look, or turn our attention further back, everyone still nose to tail pretty much. And as you say, Sam, if you guys just getting away a little bit tardy there on the restarts, and they're going to have to sharpen them up if we go through the next one. As you see, one of the Fishing Motorsports cars there with a big dive down in through 5, and I think one of the CMR C8s just trying to follow him through as well. And it's a tight little contested pack down in 25th position. That's Flock.
Yeah, Block has some good results in the endurance meeting so far this season. Maybe not quite so much success in the sprint rounds. He's behind Chancellor, who was running as high as 5th place earlier on. Was Chancellor pit? These guys, at least Chancellor pitted on lap 4. We know for sure that he can get to the end of the race as they go round. I mean, the gap between the leader and Rizzo at the way, I mean, Rizzo's had a pretty good start, but it's already 10 seconds. So that 30 seconds that I was talking about that he needed to build up, well, a third of that's done already. As they're all off the circuit ahead, Rizzo might be able to get a couple of places here. That was very easy for him. That was Crow who ran off the circuit at Canada, and that will help out Rizzo quite a bit. Doesn't have to pass those couple of drivers, and he's only 10 seconds off the race lead at the moment. Whitesaw and Adler in a battle. Davison with fast up the race at 2 minutes 0.9. That's 2 seconds faster than the drivers around him.
Did hear there was a car off mid-track. Just trying to work out who that might have been. I think it was Lachlan Crow, who has now got himself back underway. So a bit of a tough night for the Coda Sim Sport boys. Well down the order, one car retired and one with potentially a bit of damage on the back end of it. Still pressing on further back up the front. Rizzo getting on with business following his stop. And as we jump up towards the leaders at the front, Simon Peggio doing a good little job here, gaining more positions. Been a big gain coming from the midfield. He's got some tough competitors, Michael Fazzari and Nathan Sun right in behind.
Yeah, Phillips making up a few places as well. Phillips up into 4th. And yeah, Phillips pitted on the first lap of the race. We don't think he can go to the end of the event, but well, if he gets to the 35-minute mark, then maybe there'll be some suspicions that maybe that would be possible. Also, of course, I guess the safety cars would have saved a little bit of fuel as well for these drivers. And so even Davison and the other drivers who haven't pitted yet, they could probably go to maybe even 35 minutes, because we've had two kind of 4-minute laps so far in this race. So that's an easy extra 4 minutes you can get for the first of the, because we were so slow behind the Audi TCR safety car. Todd George in 30th place amongst a few other rookie drivers. They'll be very pleased to be doing this one in top split. George, don't go on that. Maybe that's not really very wise. That Harris, I think, was right on his tail, but he can't really do a whole lot with it. Harris, they're all queuing up behind that that half attempt at a move. Really slowed these guys down. And they're now 2x2 contact into Canada corner and on to the roof almost. We've got a couple of cars right on the racing line, but they quickly escape from that position. Ryan Lee and Mikalev as well are moving through that little bit of chaos. So that's a shame for those drivers, because there's some big points available for those positions for those guys who are usually in second split.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit annoying to see those incidents coming on, especially down into Canada corner. There's a lot of room to try and make those passes through cleanly, and I know Race Control probably not going to be too impressed with some of the driving standards out on circuit at the moment, as we see Byron Phillips down the inside, a little bit of a hip and shoulder. I think that was Simon Perigo that he got into the side of, so we'll see whether there's any form of a redress as a result of that one or not. But just having a look too at how far Davison has been able to extend the gap. He's already 6 seconds clear of these guys, and compared to where he is against Ross Rizzo, the gap is out to around 17 seconds at the moment. So it's trying to get on with business. I think you were saying earlier, Sam, he needs around 30-odd seconds to get in and out and potentially still retain the lead. So he's doing everything he needs to do right now to get the hammer down and get on with business.
Yeah, as a damper on that point, I don't think the gap is 17 seconds. I think it's just 12 seconds at the moment. Maybe, yeah, I think about 11 seconds. There you can see the that's quite confusing between Phillips and Davison with all the pit stops and stuff. It really has ebbed and flowed quite a bit. But yeah, I think 11 seconds to Rizzo to Davison, but that's because Rizzo's been in clean air. So that gap's kind of maintained recently. But now that Rizzo's in traffic, might be able to start pulling away. We've got another Fishy Motorsports car off the circuit who really holds up Yates right there. He'll be unfortunate, Yates, but that's great news for Vlok, who quickly gets past these guys in his C8. But yeah, we've seen White off a couple of times in this race. He had to take a faster pair earlier on in the event. I'm surprised he's quite so far up the order at the moment. But he is yeah, still in line for some decent points. Perigo off the track at turn 1, I believe that is. It could be turn 2. And dropping way down. He was in second position, remember, was Perigo, as he tries to get back onto the track. And here is how it happened.
Yeah, it's on the run down towards turn 2. Has a little bit of a moment where he blinks out of sight there, and the car behind, just a little unsighted, clips the rear end, and around he goes. So that was Nathan so involved in that one, and Nathan's been caught up in a couple of these already early on. But yeah, little bit of a tricky one to be, especially when you've got some cars in front that are blinking in that fashion. It makes it hard to get your markers right. And for Nathan, they're just running out of road at the major moment there as they come down into the braking zone, and unfortunately sends that car off.
Yeah, it's Chris Taylor with the contact. I thought it was so initially as well, but yeah, it was just Taylor with the slight hit. So oh dear, yeah. So will be pulling away now. Dial up braking. That's a cool name for his team. 2.5 seconds to Pizzari, who's been able to get away from these guys. Here comes Rizzo up the inside. He has made such quick work of these gyros. He had a bit of a tricky time with the traffic last time at Monza. He got a stop and hold penalty or drive through penalty for an instant, did Rizzo, but certainly nothing like that affecting him this time. He's got a comfortable lead over Huppert, who is the highest up driver who came in under the second safety car. So this is looking very good at the moment for Ross Rizzo. Only 12.5 seconds off the race lead at the moment, and yeah, 30 seconds needed most likely for the pit stop for Davison. I mean, it might even be more than that, to be honest. Might be more like 35 seconds. So Davison not doing nearly enough at the moment. If he did pit now, Davison, he'd come out outside the top 30. But you can, I think, safely assure he'll in 10 minutes time he'll have a big enough gap to come out in the top 20. But you know, after getting pole position, that would not be the result that he desired.
No, not where you'd want to be. Although, that being said, I mean, while he has got the clear track advantage, he's still making good benefits with the time that he's got available to him. Last time, quickest car out on circuit on a 2-minute .40, so making really good use of that track conditions. Ross Rizzo, by comparison, 2-minute 2, so a little bit slower, but we know Ross battling through that traffic, and as you said, he has been aided quite a bit by some of those incidents with guys just tripping over themselves into Canada Corner there, so that has helped his march forward up the field. But Davison pressing on. You can see down the bottom though that lap advantage just starting to go out a little bit more again.
Yeah, you can. All it can really do now is just set quick laps and yeah, just open up that gap. That is a good move there from Chico Vazara, who had a good race last time out at Monza. I think managed to finish in 10th position. Joel, a driver who we haven't seen too much of in this championship in the past. But up in 27th position, we can see he's 41 seconds off the race lead now. Got plenty of rookie drivers just in front of him, or at least drivers who are usually in second split, up for grabs just ahead. As he gets into Canada Corner for the 11th time in this race. Big shout out, by the way, to SDK Gaming for helping us out with this broadcast. Of course, SDK Gaming provide our overlay, which you can see on the left with the timing tower. We've also got the battle box in the bottom right sometimes, and all of that other information, the relative and the logos here and there. It is the absolute go-to overlay software, and it's fantastic for broadcasting, streaming, and it's a very good heads-up display as well. So if you want to have something like this with lots of customization as well with SDK Gaming, do check out sdkgaming.com, and you can get a 14-day free trial, see what it's like, and yeah, certainly recommend it. Chris Taylor in 7th place. After that bit of contact, no word on whether Taylor's got a penalty for that one. They may have deemed, seeing that the car ahead was blinking out, that there was no way for him to avoid, and that he shouldn't get a penalty for that. Anyway, he's still in 7th place. He's behind Jesse Butler. He has moved past these guys relatively recently. I think it's more likely going to be Bowden and Huppert to make the move behind. Huppert and Whitesell, by the way, 2nd and 3rd out of the drivers who pitted under the 2nd safety car, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Basically, we're expecting Huppert to finish 2nd place in this race at the moment. So he wants to get through these guys nice and quick, otherwise Whitesell might be able to catch up and fight him for that position.
And he's doing everything he needs to do nicely here at the moment, just controlling his pace at the moment. He's got Rob Bowden, who's engaged in his own little battle with Chris Taylor ahead. And looking at the pace of the C8 at the moment, he should be able to get through. And actually, Bowden makes a bit of a meal of that final corner, and Huppert will carry on without too much of an issue and getting back up the order. He's got Chris Taylor now right ahead of him. A quick thing too that we should touch on from last week, Sam, as well. They had the AMF Beyond the Blue support race for it, and there was some stuff that came out from the AMF League organisers last week about the fundraising they'd done for that event, and fantastically they were able to raise $1,290 for Beyond Blue. So thank you to all the guys that supported that race last week out at Monza.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Beyond Blue, a mental health charity based down under. So, I mean, you can still donate if you so wish. The link may not be available, but certainly would go to a very good cause. So do check out Beyond Blue. Neil Yates onto the back of Vincent Jewell at the moment. Lee Kogan ahead of them as well. This guy's snapping about 3 or 4 seconds of that off the pace as they run very deep down into turn 3 at the end of the back straight. Quite a lot of field, so we might even have some lapping by the end of this one. Paul Warwick, very slow there. Wonder if that was a redress for Warwick. He's fallen behind his teammates at least, as we have a replay of this one. He's up the inside of the Ford, the Fusion sim racing car, and actually it's going to be contact side by side here. Never really works, and that's why it's just too narrow, and to expect the driver on the inside to be able to keep so tight is asking a lot, and Warwick gets him back going at the loss of 4 positions.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough position there. We're going to have a look at the onboard here from Josh Bowden as they went around, and we have seen in some other series you can get through too wide there, and for Warwick just crosses right across the nose of the car there and didn't really leave a lot of room for Bowden, so I'm not sure how race control will deem that, whether sufficient racing room was left or not, but we will await for their adjudication to come through on that one. Byron Phillips back up front, starting to come under a fair bit of pressure now. He's got Michael Fazzari in behind, and Ross Rizzo, the man on a mission, sitting in 4th, going to jump himself up to 3rd as Fazzari has that little bit of a moment, and he is making his presence known here tonight as he sets off after Danny Davison.
Yeah, just got 2 more. We got the top 3 on really different strategies, because we had Davison, who hasn't pitted yet, Phillips, who pitted on lap 1, and Rizzo, who pitted on lap 4. So all the different strategies playing out at the moment for these top 3. I don't think Phillips can go to the end, and Phillips doesn't have the same pace that he had at Monza, seemingly, even though I would have thought that this circuit would actually benefit the Porsche more than Monza. You know, a few more corners. Whilst it is a very fast circuit here, you can have there are a few more corners compared to Monza, which is really just slow speed corners, and the Porsche really the go-to car when it comes to the high speed corners, the downforce dependent corners. But Rizzo does seem to have an overwhelming pace advantage, so he could well be passed in the near future in that Ford GT, or he might just play it cautious, knowing that another race win is surely coming his way. It's running a little bit wide, the Bill Mitchell bend. Could be an opportunity here for Rizzo. Much better exit from the final corner. Might just have to hold back for another lap as they move on to lap 15. Still a third of this race remaining. We got Simeon Perigo off the circuit again. He did go off at turn 2. Remember a while back from 2nd position about 15 minutes ago. It's gone rather southwards for Perigo. Here it was the incident again glitching out slightly, and it does make it tricky for the other car. Perigo just too deep on the brakes, and then the gravel so slippery, and that car not slowing down.
Yeah, unfortunate there for the Fisher Motorsports car to not get involved and just open the wheel at that last fraction before they tipped in through Canada Corner. So Simeon not had a great night, and I think he is coming back in the lane now just to get another stop underway, as the battle for second position has heated up, as Ross Rizzo now has managed to get through on Byron Phillips down in through turn 5 and continuing his march forward. Let's see what he can do now with a little bit of clear track in front of him. Danny Davison 15 seconds up the road, and this will be the time Ross will really need to get on with business. There's only 15 minutes left. We know Davison still has that stop yet to come, but this is all for Ross's taking now.
Yeah, the overwhelming favourite for another race win would be, I don't know, I struggle to count them up something like 5th this season, and of course he won the vast majority last season as well. I think he won about 6 out of 12 last season. His teammates got a few, and Edwards I think got one. But yeah, that'd be something like 11 race wins in 20 odd races, which is a remarkable feat. Here comes Davison then into the pits for his one and only pit stop. Well, I don't think we will have a chat with Danny after this, because I don't think he's going to finish on the podium. Why did he not pit under the second safety car? He had time to react. I mean, did he not think that they'd get to the end of the race? I mean, Rizzo's been able to push pretty hard, so I don't know why he didn't come into the pits, but Rizzo takes the lead. Davison will probably drop to about 20th position. He has a very good pace, not surprisingly, as the pole sitter. But he will be stationary for a little bit longer before exiting out, and then we'll have a few more positions to gain in the closing stages.
Yeah, Davison now down and away, heading out towards the exit. And interestingly, by the time he'd got into his pit boxes, he comes right out in front of Michael Whiting. That's definitely going to get the attention of race control for an unsafe pit entry and just getting across the line probably a little quicker than he needed to. He'd already dropped down to 8th position as those cars were going through as he was down the lane. So in a really tough spot as he came through. And here's a look at that re-entry there out of the pit lane as we ride on board with Michael Whiting. And you see Davison just to the outside. He swings it over hard in front of Whiting there, and that will definitely get the blood boiling after that one.
Yeah, Whiting has been in a few. He's had an action-packed race, hasn't he? 34 minutes in, and I feel like he's seen most stuff that can happen on a race circuit. Aidan Coote with a big slide as well, so hang on to that one through turn 4. So not as far down as I thought he would come out, actually, to be fair there, Davison. I thought he'd be closer to 20th place, but actually well inside the top 15. He had about 10 seconds to 20th place, so it just shows how quick he was. And then he's got Chancellor, perhaps Burden. Unlikely he'll catch up to Burden. Bailey could maybe catch up to Whitesall, Bowden, Taylor. Yeah, I mean, top 10 probably for him, but any higher than that for Davison, it's bad news for him because he's got some quick drivers just ahead. Fazzari into the pits then, and of course he hadn't pitted in this racing yet. Still, the drivers who pitted under the first safety car are yet to come in. We do expect them to have to come into the pits at some point in this race, but we are still waiting for the first one of them to enter in. But yeah, Fazzari, he will fall outside the top 20, I imagine. It was probably worth the risk there for Fazzari. He kept out of that kind of midfield trouble, so I don't think it was a bad call for the 482 car. But yeah, he will be much lower down than he has spent the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, definitely, and it looks like it'll be a pretty short stop for Fazzari, 9.27 seconds stationary, and he is back underway as we see him just about to exit Adrian Vlock in the lane as well, who was involved in that early lap 1 incident with, I think it might have been Michael Whiting. It was definitely one of the Fishy Motorsports cars that he was involved in that incident with, and having to come down the lane again for a second time. But Fazzari will rejoin now down in 20th position. A lot of work for him to do to get those spots back up. Lucas McAuliffe having a good run here at the moment with XRC Racing, down a little lower probably than where we've seen him traditionally, down in 26th position, but he's in a good fight here. He's got Luke Swan and Chris Barnes just ahead, but two very tough Porsches for him to work his way through on.
Oh, that's the move. Lock up. That's going to do a little bit of damage to your tyres. It does take a percent or two out of that tire when you do a lockup. No kind of vibrations yet, not modeled into iRacing, but yeah, hopefully something like that will be done in the future. And of course, heats up the tire as well. That's the main disadvantage. It does compromise you for the next few corners. We are also sponsored on this broadcast by Virtual Racing School. Virtual Racing School, one of the best driver tutorial websites out there, and you can get setups, data packs, one-on-one coaching from Virtual Racing School. Yeah, over 50 cars supported by that in all different categories of racing, roadside, oval side, dirt racing as well. Certainly do check out Virtual Racing School if you're looking to improve on your competitiveness in iRacing. They are the guys to go to. Chancellor in 11th place. He's lost out though to Davison. That's kind of the one move that I was confident Davison would be able to make. Has made some good progress on Burden. He's only 2 seconds behind Burden now, but you can see that beyond that, there's another 4 seconds to Bailey, who is quite a bit slower than these guys, but well, he's not sluggish to fair, but only 1 second slower than Davison. So yeah, Davison should be able to get maybe Burden for 9th position. I think that'll be as high as he can get. Coot, oh well, he has been all over the place. He nearly spun at turn 4 a couple of laps ago, and that time going onto that very unusual bit of gravel. Why it's there, nobody knows. Dips the wheel onto the gravel and nearly hit the wall on the outside.
Yeah, and that's a bit of an awkward one there. We saw that car ahead. I think it was Paul Warwick. Sort of goes a little to the inside through that last little kink section, then drifts it back out to the racing line there. And for Coot, nowhere really to go as he had the overrun on the entry there. But hats off to him. Save of the race so far. He did keep it off the wall and was able to continue going on. So only a small bit of time lost, but yeah, back underway as he goes. As Ryan Lee and Todd George now start their little fight for 26th position. These guys well off the back of Luke McAuliffe, who we're looking at just a lap ago. But a good little fight between these two, and very evenly matched as far as the pace is. Last time for George, 2-minute 2.4 versus a 2-minute 3.46 for Luke. So not much in it, and pressing on nicely.
Notice that Phillips still hasn't come into the pits. He pitted on lap 1. We've only got, someone going wide at the kink. We've only got 5.5 minutes to go in this race. So that's 3 more laps at the end of this one. We might just force another one. We need to get to the line at 41 minutes. Will we do that? I think we will do that. Yeah, I think we'll make it. So yeah, I think we've got 3 more laps then. Yeah, 3 more laps at the conclusion of this one. So it'll be tight for Phillips, but yeah, hasn't come into the pits yet. We will see if he can go to the end after all. There's certainly no hint of fuel saving for Phillips. Albeit his pace earlier on was a little bit sluggish. He has improved on it since. You can see he's only 2.5 seconds off the lead. But yeah, maybe Phillips could be in for a podium after all. Collins onto the back of Coot after that big off for Coot. That BMW should be strong around this circuit. Usually strong down the straights are the other BMWs. The C8, a pretty good all-rounder, I believe, at this point. This is the battle for 13th and 14th.
Yeah, surprisingly, the BMW is still holding on pretty well. We know it copped a bit of a tough love from iRacing in the start of the season, but the guys are holding on to it pretty comfortably at the moment. And for Coot, he is currently our top BMW driver in that 13th position, so doing very nicely there. For Collins, just behind, as you say, he is probably in the most evenly balanced car over the course of the run. I had the pleasure of driving it in the Christmas Cup, and very easy on the tyres. It holds on exceptionally well throughout the course of the stint. So look for Collins to have a bit of a go here. He's got 4 minutes left on the clock and definitely in with a fight to get that one more position up the road.
Davison with the fastest lap of the race. He's not holding back. Got a couple of other moves as well. These guys now pretty much a lap down the leaders. I think you may be able to see the leaders in the background. But yeah, Whitworth, Adlam, Login. Is that? Yeah, Login. And Posh as well at the back of this one. Richard Domingo trying to catch up. Ooh, the Ferrari going to the inside. Almost going to be contact here. Good driving from the pair. They've left just enough space. It was Adlam who managed to stay ahead. Whitworth being able to make a little bit of a break now from these guys in 36th position. They've got 20 further seconds to Lachlan Cray up the road. There is the leaders then, Rizzo. He will just about put a lap on them. We've got 2.5 more minutes to go. It's not going to take them 30 seconds to get to the line, so it will be 2 more laps. I do wonder if that will maybe compromise a few people with their fuel strategy. Maybe weren't expecting the race leader to have quite as much pace as that, and of course they did pit a while back, so it wouldn't have been sure. Albeit we did have the safety car period, of course, which may be beneficial to them. Phillips seemingly staying out, so that pit stop then on the first lap, Daniel, seemingly it was enough to get to the end of the race. And well, it was a genius call from Phillips to react so quick on that first lap to come into the pits and get the pit stop done.
Absolutely, he's driven exceptionally well out there tonight, just driven it to the numbers and not really gone any further than he needs to. His last lap comparative to his best 0.04 of a second, so nothing in it. He's just smooth and consistent, and we were on board with him. There was no real sharp stabs of the throttle down into 5, which we're heading up to now, last lap, but just driving nice, clean, consistent laps, and that's what he needs at the moment. I think, as you say, those couple of safety cars early on, we've had 3 of them so far, have all helped just save the fuel, and for a lot of these guys, they would have been coasting or clutching in and coasting as much as possible to save that fuel. So Phillips done an outstanding job here. Huppets could possibly close the gap down a little bit. He's 4 seconds off. Should Byron get into any sort of lap traffic, we just see him flying past one of the slow Porsches there in the background. But it's a bit of an opportunity here for Huppets, but Phillips doing everything perfectly right now as they head up through the kink.
Rizzo is really getting held up right now from these back markers. He is very cautious in these situations, Rizzo. He's got past one of them. It gets down to 1.4 seconds, and he'll get a job from the next one. What he didn't want, Rizzo, was to be held up through the kink, because that can destroy your speed. He should be all right here, but will we get another lap? It's going to be very close. I mean, to be fair, Rizzo should be all right regardless, because there's not much more traffic up the road. But here we are, going to be a little bit slow here. Rizzo, they is allowed pass, and it'll be Phillips now who gets the big hold up from these drivers ahead. He's flashing his lights either way, trying to get past. 10 seconds on the clock. We knew it was going to be close. Rizzo approaching line. Is this the checkered flag or is it the white flag? It is the white flag as he crossed the line bang on the 45 minutes. That last lap was a bit slower for him, and so yeah, anyone who oh, Davison's had to come into the pit. Oh, Danny. No. Well, pole position, made the wrong strategy call twice in hindsight, because he didn't put enough fuel into the car. He wasn't expecting that extra lap, and Danny Davison, it's yeah, that massive unluck for him. Bowden as well, seemingly having troubles. He's crashed Bowden on at the final corner as Chancellor and Burden are alongside. This is Chancellor actually attacking Burden, so Burden quite slow in these closing stages. Wonder if he's having to save fuel, and Chancellor all over the back of him.
I think Burden's at that moment of just trying to get the car through. He was in that little earlier on exchange with one of the Fishy Motorsports cars as well. So don't know whether there's a little bit of damage on the front of that car or not, but seemingly not up to pace compared to the other guys around him. It was a little slower last time by, but Burden is a very tough competitor to get through. As you can see him going very defensive to try and hold Chancellor behind him. I think it's going to be fraught with a bit of danger here as he works his way down through the hurry downs. He's got a half a lap here to go to try and hold on to this 7th position.
So here is the race leader then. We know that this is going to be the last lap. He put enough fuel into the car. Phillips offering him a decent challenge, but Rizzo clearly has the pace advantage. And 2.8 seconds clear at the moment. Huppert's 3.5 seconds back. He wasn't able to stay close enough when they were moving up through the traffic. And also Rizzo rounds the final corner, approaches the line. It's another race victory for the Ford GT. It's another race victory for Ross Rizzo, who wins at Road America. Byron Phillips in second position. Huppert's with a welcome return to the podium. Still, Burton is having to fight off Chancellor. Will either of these guys run out of fuel on the run to the line? They could be tight with the numbers. It's a good draft for Chancellor. It's not going to be enough. Surely the line does come up pretty late. Can Chancellor get him? No, he cannot. It was 4/100ths of a second at the checkered flag. Are there any other battles going on? We got George and Mikola just ahead of these, just ahead here, and that is George ahead through Canada corner to move up into 19th position. And pulling away through the final couple of corners. It'll be Todd George in 19th position, Mikola to round out the top 20. A strange race. Oh, that's actually, we've still got side by side, haven't we? With Swan and Hughes. Oh, this is a proper side by side battle to the end. Who's got the less damage? Oh, they made contact, guys. No, that, and the Corvette's off as well. Slaloming through it was Lee with a 3 places gained on the run to the line. That's gonna certainly get the Asturo's attention after the race, and a few other guys. It was a race which was really tipped on its head, Daniel, after that first lap wreck. You know, the strategy was really turned on its head as Minute runs out of fuel. And Rizzo once again just navigating his way through it. I mean, when there's a strategy call to be made, you can put your house on him making the correct one.
And he's done it time in, time again. So Rizzo really knows how to get the most out of this car. I'll be interested to know how much fuel he had left in the car at the conclusion of that one, because that last lap came up just in the blink of an eye, and wonder if there was any sort of fuel saving required to get that car home. But for everyone else, yeah, did a really good job. Marred with a few incidents throughout the course of the race. You say lap 1, we had the big one down in the kink. We got it a couple of laps later on. And to have 3 safety cars in a 45-minute event, very unusual, especially for the caliber of drivers that we traditionally see in the AMF series.
Yeah, well, before Monza, we haven't had any safety cars for the whole season, I think, and then we get 2 there, 2 here. I like them. You know, I think it mixes it up a bit. I think tonight, maybe we would have had a good race regardless, because Davison looks very quick. We should be able to go through your final results then, as all the drivers are across the line here for Road America. And in the end, taking another race victory, it was Ross Rizzo with another commanding drive to take home the spoils. 2.8 seconds clear of Byron Phillips. Nathan Huppert's in 3rd position. There was Jesse Butler with another good result. Chris Taylor, Chris Whitesell, Joshua Burden, Shane Chancellor, Michael Whiting. I think Whiting and White crashed like 3 times, but they were alright. Whiting, I think, certainly had a couple of issues, but yeah, they collided on the first lap of the kink. But faster pairs do wonders. Ashley Collins finished in 11th place. Then was Aidan Coote, Lee Cogan, Brenton Jewell, Michael Vasari, Scott Forsyth, Cam Walker, Matt Bailey, Todd George, Lucas Mikolev, Ryan Lee, Adrian Vlock, Luke Swan, Andrew Pitcairn, Joel Chigavaza, Dustin Fletcher, Daniel Yearman, Simeone Perigo, Pete Minette, and Neil Yates rounding out the top 30. Then it was Lachlan Crowe, Adam Hughes, Nathan So, Danny Davison with that extra pit stop was a lap down in the end. I wonder if he just retired in the end. Brad Adlam was in 35th. There was Tristan Kosh, Dylan Whitworth, Richie Domingo, Trent Thomas, Joshua Woolley, Braden O'Logan, Jacob Meyer, Rob Boden, Lockhart Brownlee, Chris Barnes, Shane Griffin, Justin Quinn, Ben Dow was in 48. Oh, what a shame it was for Dow. I forgot he was actually in the race. He was second place on the first lap. Then it was James Class-Paul, Joel Proctor, Aaron Cooper, Rob Harris, James Thomas, Craig Mason, Brenton Hawkins, Stephen Varga, and Michael Schroeder. Apologies, Varga was the safety car, of course, but he did do some laps. Schroeder was a driver, I think, but finished behind. Retired on the first lap. We should be able to go through your interviews now. By the way, just before we go to that, shout out to Apex Racing Academy, our other sponsor for this championship, and for all our broadcasts on Apex Racing TV. Apex Racing Academy doing 29 data packs, driver coaching from some of the best drivers in the world, such as Peter Bayman and Kevin Ellis, both World Championship, both Porsche Esports Super Cup drivers on iRacing, and also we've got Johan Harth, who of course is the iRacing Rallycross World Champion, and you can get the very setups that those guys use for those World Championship events and for all of the official series races. Just go to apexracingac.com for that one-to-one coaching, group coaching sessions, commentated laps as well, absolutely everything on Apex Racing Academy. So our interviews then, we will have a chat with our race winner, Ross Rizzo. He has another race win and yep, another step closer to the championship as well with that result. Ross, I'm going to bombard you with strategic questions, I think, at the moment, because I've got a few questions. First up, why didn't you pit on the first lap? Because it seemed like you could go to the end of the race, and was a safety car not inevitable, or had the safety car not been called at that point?
So Danny and I were on the front straight when the SC was called and well past the pit entry, and then the call was made for Danny to slow down. So I was very nervous about the likes of Byron and those guys that took that opportunity to pit. But at that point, I only thought they'd only be able to get to the normal fuel limit, which would mean they'd still have to pit with about 5 minutes to go or something like that. But it was still going to be the right call. And then only when I made my pit stop under the second SC that I saw you could actually fill it up. So that's when I started to get a bit nervous that it might have fallen into that the strategic mastermind wasn't going to be me tonight. So it was a crazy kind of race. You don't need me to tell you that, but yeah, that was absolutely wild.
Second question. We're not going to have a chat with Danny because he ended up off the podium. Do you know why Danny wouldn't have pitted under that second safety car? Because it seemed like you had loads of time to react. I mean, it wasn't as though it was a last-minute call. Like, you had lots of time to react. What did it go through your mind, maybe to stay out? Because it seemed quite obvious to pit.
Yeah, it was obvious to me to pit, but the moment I came in, I saw the stream of traffic coming up behind me and thought, actually, I'm probably going to regret this. And I was also surprised that he didn't pit. I assume either he didn't realize he could make it home, or he was going for the track position strategy. And I guess either way, the one he chose did not work for him.
On the penultimate lap, you were getting held up behind a bit of traffic. You're usually very passive in those scenarios, but what's going on in your virtual cockpit in that situation? Are you swearing at the screen? Are you doing angry hand gestures, or were you quite cool in that situation? Because it was getting pretty tense.
I was only interested in the gap to Byron behind me and see how much time I could afford to lose. So, and those guys ahead of me were battling really, really hard. So I knew rushing it was not going to be a smart idea. So I just took my time and took the opportunities as they came. But it was good to see them race hard like that. But it is always nerve-wracking because it can be a case of a collision ahead and then having nowhere to go and the race is over. So hats off to them for keeping it on the road.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Ross, on yet another race win. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Quick thank you to AMF and Apex Racing TV, and to Trick Esports, Trick Custom Fabrications, and Pro Sim Gear.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Ross. We'll see you back next week.
Thanks very much, guys.
Ross Rizzo there. Should have asked him about Bathurst, actually. That was a mistake because, I wonder if he'll be taking part in that one. Anyway, we have got our second and third place men to have a chat now. Daniel, I think we'll have a chat with Byron Phillips next.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Byron, congratulations, mate. Very strong drive for yourself and the Mach 1 team tonight. Talk us through your strategy. It was a little bit interesting. We saw that you came in lap 1 when the safety car came out. Were you thinking there that you were potentially going to have to come in later on for a little top of fuel up?
No, I just winged it with strategy because I had damage from that crash on the back straight, so I had to come in anyway. And I saw that the fuel tank was 99 and we only started with 50. So I took all the fuel I needed and just went from there.
That was a great call, mate. You looked like you were driving the car very smooth and consistent. And we got a chance to have a ride on board with you towards the back end of the race. Was there any lift and coast that you felt you needed to do just to make sure you had enough fuel?
No, I put in too much. I had about 10 litres left in the tank going over the line. But yeah, I was just learning the track because I only downloaded it 20 minutes before quali was about to start. So I was still getting used to the track, hence why my times were getting quicker and quicker as the race went on.
Oh, mate, it was a hell of a drive for someone who's just picked it up 20 minutes before, because Road America, a bit of a different circuit to a few that we've already been throughout the calendar so far, but definitely got on top of it exceptionally well. You got in some pretty decent battles towards the end there. Yourself and Ross had a good little fight over second position. Were you a little surprised to see him down the inside through 5, or did you think you might have had a chance to get back around him down through the hurry downs and the carousel?
No, I was always going to let him pass. I could see he was showing the nose, so I just let him have it easy. I didn't have the pace that he had, but he drove really well. He was really quick and consistent, and he managed traffic very well.
No, you did a stellar job yourself, mate. Don't put yourself down there at all. Next week, you've got another endurance event that we're heading to. Should be a good one. Are you looking forward to that one at all?
Yeah, we'll have to see what the track is. Don't mind what track it is, always have a go. See how I go. But yeah, I'll definitely hop in next week and have a send.
Absolutely. I'm just we pull up the schedule here at the moment. So next week we're off to, actually it's a mystery event. I haven't actually announced it yet. So I think everyone's looking forward to seeing what that one is going to be. But before we let you go, mate, and enjoy celebrations for second place tonight, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to give a massive shout out to Delta Sport and all their partners, Move Up Transport Solutions, Freem USA, Race Factory, and Unified for Kids, and Get Stuck.
Fantastic, mate. Well, yeah, congratulations on the result, and hopefully we'll get a chance to speak to you at the next event.
Yep, thank you.
Byron Phillips there, your second place man. We'll have a last chat as well with one of our former champions in this series, Nathan Huppert. Apologies, second place. Oh, that was really mean. Sorry, Nathan. I forgot. You're the champion in my heart. Second runner-up, of course, a couple of seasons. Okay. Nice to see you back on the podium there, Nathan. That looks like, you pretty much maximised that result. Take us through that lap 1, because when was the safety car announced? It must have been just as you passed the pit lane entry.
It was announced just after the pit lane entry. So we were told to go fairly slowly so the safety car could catch up to us. At that point, the leaders, Ross and Danny and myself, we would have all realised you couldn't pit then anyway to get to the end of the race. So we just waited for the safety car and continued on.
Yep, and how was it making your way through the traffic? Were there any close calls, and how aggressive were you being making up through the traffic after your pit stop?
The traffic was pretty good actually. Had a pretty solid race. It was good to start 5th. Last week I only managed to qualify 10th, and that was the maximum I could get out of the car at that track. So Road America suited the Corvette a bit more, and I enjoy the track. So just sort of made my way past a couple of guys, and then the second safety car came out, and that was when Ross and I peeled into the pits because we knew from there we could fill up to get to the end, which is why it was a bit of a surprise to see Byron in second at the end, and realised he must have somehow got more fuel in than should have been able to. So, but yeah, it was a good, exciting finish.
Yeah, at what point did you think, hang on, this guy's not going to pit?
Oh, it was probably about 3/4 of the way through the race, because one of my teammates put in extra fuel and said there was no limit like there should be. So at that point, I thought, oh, okay, there's a chance he may not have to pit here. So it was just head down, bum up, and tried to make my way through some back markers. And the Corvette, Fusion Sim Racing Corvette, was great at the end, had really good pace actually, and I was starting to gain on Byron there at the end, and pretty much keep pace with Ross, but I got held up just by a few back markers, which made it a bit tough. So I think with another 5 or 6 laps, it might have been a bit more interesting.
Next week is a mystery round. I don't know what the track is. If you could pick a circuit to race around, where would you like to race next week?
Oh, that's a good question. If I had a choice, I'd probably pick Le Mans. I like the 24-hour race around there, so it's one of my favourite tracks. That would be a good one to do, but I'm happy with anything. I love the idea of a mystery round. I think it adds a bit of interest to the AMF, which is already a great series, and myself and the other Fusion Sim Racing teammates will be keen to give it a crack, whatever it is.
Awesome. Well, we will see you for that mystery round next week. Nathan, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Big shout out to Fusion Sim Racing, great bunch of guys, and congrats to Josh who jumped in at the last minute to race and finished 7th. Unfortunately, Lockhart got a DQ, but he'll be back next week. But yeah, love to thank our major sponsors, which are simrigs.com, manufacturers of great sim rigs, Psychonic Solutions, Eclipse Signage, and Daryl Carter Plastering for supporting the team.
Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Nathan, and hope to see you back on the podium next week.
Me too. Thanks, guys.
Nathan Huppert's there in 3rd position for Fusion Sim Racing. I asked it to Nathan there, Daniel, what track you'd like to see the mystery round at. Are there any circuits that you would like to see the mystery round at for next Sunday?
That's a good question. My favourite track is coming up right at the end of the season, so maybe we could do a double header at Sebring. That could be interesting. I don't know. I'd love to see the guys on a street circuit. Long Beach would definitely be a great track to see, very tight technical. I know there's been a few little glitches with the hairpin, so potentially not, but the racing would be absolutely fantastic to see around there. Hopefully the organisers have got something fun in store for it. Not sure yet, as there's not been any announcement, but certainly cannot wait to see what they put up. Maybe we'll go to Belle Isle. I mean, we saw a fantastic race there last season when we went there, and it was one of those tracks where a lot of guys thought we could be in for some issues, and it didn't seem to eventuate. But we'll have to wait and see. And what are your thoughts, Sam?
Well, I'd like to see Long Beach, and that's what I assume the mystery round was, because it may not have been announced, may not have been confirmed when they made the schedule, so it would make sense that it was Long Beach. We had a crazy race in the Porsche Cup Championship, in the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship, a few weeks back around that circuit. That was first round of the championship. That was 50 odd Porsche Cup cars. I'm sure these guys would be able to keep it a bit cleaner. So, yeah, bring on the chaos. I'd like to see Long Beach being visited. It's a real fun circuit. Might mix up the order slightly. Maybe Bathurst would be tricky for the guys, because of course Bathurst 12 hours within the GT3 cars. It's tricky to kind of swap between cars at the same circuit. So maybe that wouldn't be too smart. But I'd certainly be up for it. That would be a lot of fun. We'll see then what that mystery round is when we load into the session next week, I guess. it will. I'm sure the organizer will pull off a cracker day, and it will be another fantastic event. Big thanks, of course, to Virtual Racing School, to SDK Gaming, and to Apex Racing Academy for helping us out with this broadcast. Do certainly check them all out. Also, check out our social media as well on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We're posting kind of short little videos, kind of minute-long videos of highlights of our races, kind of entertaining moments, you know, big crashes, any funny moments in the commentary box, any kind of great overtakes as well. We're posting that on social media, so certainly do check that out. That's at Apex Racing TV on all of those social media platforms. If you've enjoyed this video, do leave a like on it and subscribe to Apex Racing Academy, Apex Racing TV, so that you can watch future broadcasts. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Daniel Leet, and from Scott Newton, we are going to say goodbye, and we will see you next time.